And Jet Airways grounding seems to be benefiting rivals immensely. InterGlobe Aviation, operator of IndiGo, has said its quarterly profit surged fivefold, beating analyst estimates as yields rose and airline carried passengers amid collapse of rival Jet Airways following funding woes. Net profit of IndiGo rose to 589.59 crore rupees in quarter ended 31st March from 117.64 crore rupees a year earlier. This is steepest since companies started trading publicly in 2015. Indian airlines, including IndiGo and SpiceJet, have been vying for lucrative airport slots left vacant by grounding of Jet Airways in March. Local airlines are aggressively expanding their fleet and adding new routes to benefit from shutdown of India's second largest airline. IndiGo, country's largest airline by market share, flew 15.7 million domestic passengers during March quarter compared to 13.4 million in year earlier. IndiGo's total debt at the end of March quarter stood at 2,500 crore around, and fiscal 2019 overall was a tough year for the airline industry because of high fuel prices, weak rupee and an intense competitive environment. However, it is tale of two halves for IndiGo, with first half incurring losses and second half of the year experiencing sharp recovery. And we're joined by our correspondent Pragya Jha. She's been following story very closely. Pragya, a very good evening to you. First of all, well, overall we can say that the debt is quite near for Jet Airways, because 2 weeks is not a very, we can say that, short time, and so far there is no confirmed bid on the horizon. So what's the fate of Jet Airways?
In fact, uncertainty is looming large over the future, the fortunes of Jet Airways. This is how we can describe the situation of the beleaguered airline as of today, because it was just last week around that we heard that one of Mumbai's biggest business houses, the Hinduja Group, was interested, in fact, to play investor and to, in fact, take Jet off its crisis that it presently is facing itself under. However, now we learn that there is no certain stamp on whether Hinduja Group would be partnering with Etihad and the National Infrastructure Investment Fund. So there is still a whole lot of uncertainty around this development, and as this uncertainty takes place, it really, lowers the Jet's profitable value also. We've seen that, as you were, just mentioning, that competitor airlines have been gaining. We saw SpiceJet reported a 22% hike in its quarter 4 profits. So we're still awaiting as to what could be the closure for Jet.
And Pragya, now, as we know, most of the slots of Jet Airways has already been taken. Planes have been taken by Vistara, SpiceJet. Also, we know that there is no big investment coming on the horizon, and investors are asking for a haircut from banks. So how difficult it is now to revive Jet Airways? Should we finally write it off?
Sumit, nearly an 80 to 90% haircut is what investors would be expecting from lenders. This we learnt even in connection to bigger groups like Hinduja, if they'd be interested, if they'd be on board. So this was a major haircut that is expected. Other than that, in terms of value proposition, definitely a lot has been lost when it comes to Jet. There'll have to be some real economic turnaround by the airline when it comes to, any investor who would be interested. He'd have to really turn things around to find any lucrative value for Jet Airways that still remains.
One last question. So far, what has happened to employees? 20,000 of them, clearly they were earlier with Jet Airways. Now, how much have been absorbed? Pilots, crew members and even technical staff?
Sumit, almost half. Almost half of the airline staff has, in fact, they have been approaching other airlines, and they have been approaching competitor airlines in the bid to get into the salary payrolls, because they said that they have not received their salaries for almost 5 months now, and this has really hurt their financial, their financial position back home. Many of them have to feed families, and hence they have approached several of the airlines. But again, they say that despite despite approaching airlines, despite having the kind of training, the kind of background in aviation they have with Jet Airways, which was one of the most prominent airlines in India, yet they've had to bear a lot of slash when it comes to their salaries. They've had to take a pay cut that has severely hurt them when it comes to their employability. However, they have said that something is at least better than nothing, because in other situations they were taking back home just nothing when it came to Jet Airways.
Right, thank you, Pragya, for joining us with all the details. We'll keep on coming back to you for this important developing story.